But going to the concept of the present, while reading this book, I was continuously kind of struck by the morals within it and their relevance to today's present. And one of the particular ones that struck me was actually a quote from The Ghost of Christmas Present, which I think everyone's kind of heard, the line by Scrooge, well, if they'd rather die, then they better do it and decrease the surplus population. And then The Ghost of Christmas Present kind of takes him up on that point. And I'll read from the book. He says, "If man you be at heart, not adamant, forbear that wicked can't until you have discovered what that surplus is and where it is. Will you decide what men shall live and what men shall die?" And when I was reading that segment, I just thought, I really feel like all the people in the extreme environmentalist movement really need to read this part of the book, because we hear that more and more these days, especially really concerningly from the young, this concept of humans are a plague on this planet, or there's too many people, there's too much population. And when people say that, I just want to say to them, do you realize what you're saying? Like, where is this excess population that you want to get rid of? So Brenda, did you notice that at all when you were reading? And is there any other morals that you saw in the book that you thought were particularly timely to now?
Yeah, I think that section of the book is incredibly striking and really, really important because, of course, Dickens would have been surrounded by those kind of extreme ideas as well, because Thomas Malthus, who was the original population scaremonger, who wrote his population treatise in 1798, he was incredibly influential. He would have been very, very influential in the kind of circles Dickens will have been moving in, upper middle class circles in particular. And Malthus, who obviously gave rise to Malthusianism, put forward the idea that there was not enough natural resources to feed humanity, and therefore there would be a surplus population and it would die out one way or another. And in A Christmas Carol, Dickens is very clearly rebuking Malthus and sending a signal to the sections of London society who will have been fairly Malthusian. He's saying to them, listen, this is not right. This is not a good way to look at the poor as simply a surplus population to be dealt with. And that's why I think The Ghost of Christmas Present is really important too, because I think The Ghost of Christmas Present plays an important political role in the novel, in the story, because of course one of the things he does is he shows Scrooge a marketplace in London which is full of the most extraordinary food, and Dickens describes the food in great detail, luscious pears and apples and all this stuff. And then he goes from there to the Cratchits' home, where there is not really much food. And so what Dickens is essentially saying is the problem is social, not natural. There is plenty food, there is plenty stuff to go around, and yet some people don't have any. And this was, Dickens was a pretty socially aware person. This was him very clearly saying no to Malthusianism and holding up the distinct possibility that humankind could feed everyone if it wanted to. And I think you're right. Those backward Malthusian ideas have completely trickled down into modern day environmentalism, which pushes the same argument that Thomas Malthus pushed, which is that there is only so many natural resources to go around, and eventually we'll run out and everyone will die. Dickens would not have had much time for those kinds of arguments, because in his view, the world was full of wonderful stuff and it was a world of abundance. The problem was that some people were denied access to that abundance because of the social organization of society. So there's a very positive message there. And I think The Ghost of Christmas Present is almost like a pro-market character, or almost like a pro-free market character. And lots of capitalist thinkers over the years have made that argument, because essentially what that ghost says is the only limitations to liberating people from poverty is really the social imagination.